I was just left out in the world and I was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna start like figuring out who I am. I'm gonna try things and I'm gonna see, what do I like? Do I actually like this? Or did people tell me that I like this? It's so easy to compare yourself to people that you see online. Being a high performer doesn't mean you should be so hard on yourself or compare yourself or feel like you're not good enough.
It's the easiest way to connect with your audience online.
Here's the difference between branding, marketing, and sales. I was just not happy with myself or who I was. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really know what made me happy.
What's your perspective on the high performance mindset?
So,
Nabeelah Munshi is the marketer and the founder of Bloom Marketing Studio. Born in Pakistan, but soon enough by her teens, she moved to Malaysia, then after that to US, and then worked in Spain, then France, then Dubai. All these places have completely different cultures and accordingly she had to adapt. So in this episode, we reflected on her journey and how she navigated through all these different cities. Alright, before we kick off this episode, if you can do me the small favor and subscribe to this channel, it'll help me bring you more and more high performance to the show. This is a high performance mindset and today's guest is Nabeelah Munshi. Enjoy this episode.
Nabeelah, welcome to the show.
thank you.
What got you into soul searching? Like, what triggered it?
So, when I was younger, I think I was just graduating from college, and I think that was one of the key points, because after that, I was just left out in the world, and I was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. And once I graduated, I started a job. It was in sales, and I didn't like it at all.
And at this period, you were in the US, right?
Yes, I was in the US, and I didn't like it at all. So I was like, there has to be something more. And I was fortunate enough at that time where I was like, okay, I'm gonna find my own passion. And I think that led me into soul searching, understanding who I was. Yeah.
And what path did you take? Like, did you start reading particular books, watching particular videos? Did you have a guide like you'd refer to?
So the first book I read was The Power of Now. That was my first book.
Why did you decide on reading that?
Because I just felt really, really bad when I was alone. So like whenever I was alone, so I was always around people. I've always been social, and so I always liked being in crowds with people, doing something, being out. And then when I would be alone, I would just feel so like I couldn't be alone, and I couldn't have silence either. So that's when I also got into meditation. Actually, I know this is gonna go into, so we don't have a background to this, but I used to live in Paris as well.
Okay.
And that time was one of the darkest times ever. Even though I was in Paris and I was having so much fun, I just felt so bad when I was alone. I couldn't tell you what it was. So I kind of like found out, like I was watching all these TED Talks. I was like, okay, I'm gonna find a solution to this. And then it came out like, okay, I should meditate. So then I started meditating, and I couldn't meditate at all.
Why?
Because I couldn't be in silence for like more than a minute or two. I just couldn't. But then I taught myself, and I think that's really where my journey kind of started, because I just didn't want to feel bad like when I was alone.
Like, what kind of thoughts would come in your mind?
So nothing like in particular. I just didn't feel happy. Like I couldn't tell you, like I had really bad thoughts like, oh, like maybe now I could be like, oh, Nabeelah, you could have done something better, or, you know, there was nothing negative thoughts. I just felt really unhappy. Like I just felt so, like people could see my life from outside. Like if you saw, like I was going to the best restaurants and doing this and that, and I was smiling and I was happy, but I really didn't feel that on the inside.
Do you think, was it just a matter of some sense of loneliness, or
Could
maybe
be.
homesick, or I don't know?
Could be. I mean, I do think people are very important.
When did you start feeling better? How about that?
I think I started feeling better when I kind of figured out what I actually wanted to do, and I found out what I was passionate about or what I was good at. I think that's when everything changed for me, because then I found marketing, and I was like, oh, this is like so interesting. And within marketing, there were so many skills to learn. So one by one, I was like, oh, I feel really good that I know this, and then I could help people with it. And people were telling me good things. They saw results. So that made me like start to feel really good.
I think it's extremely important to know what's the next thing you want to do.
Yeah.
And then you're like excited for your next project, even if you can't work on it immediately.
Yeah.
But when you have that, I feel without that, I don't feel any sense of excitement.
Like you don't have anything to look forward to, basically.
I don't. But so I usually always have my next big project that I'm excited for and a bit anxious, and
Yeah, you have to have something to look forward to. I think that's what I've learned as well. That like if you have nothing to look forward to and you're just working, it's just kind of like, what next? You kind of become kind of dull.
Yeah.
Because you don't have nothing to look forward to.
Absolutely. All right, let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go way back.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were born in Pakistan.
Yes.
And you were probably there till you were a teenager, where you moved to Malaysia.
Yes, I was 13 till I was in Pakistan.
Okay. All right. So let's say from 7 till 12.
Yeah.
Okay. Going to school.
You see, the thing is that I don't remember things about my childhood. That's the funniest thing. But I remember somebody saying that when you've had like a very traumatic childhood, you forget. So I don't actually remember a lot of my childhood.
You remember your school?
I do remember my school.
Okay. So what would you do after school when you come back on a weekday?
So on a weekday, when I would come home, I would just do my homework, really. Like as a woman in Pakistan, you weren't able to do very much. Like that's probably why I'm such a, not nerdy, but like I am quite nerdy, like into books and into doing stuff, is because I literally had nothing else to do. Like as a woman, you're not allowed to do very much, at least at that time when I was there. So I would come home, do my homework, and then really that was watch some TV and then go to bed.
You would do it with your mom or alone?
Just alone. My mom also had like a business, so she was always in her beauty salon. So mostly.
So you were.
And the people who took care of me. So
nice. So that means you've been exposed to business and entrepreneurship, watching your mom.
Yeah, you don't realize how much that helped me until like I started using all those skills. Like I think since I was a kid, I've always seen, so both my mom and my dad are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
But with my mom, I actually was very involved in her business. Like I would always go, because it was also a beauty salon, so I got free services all the time. So I would just go in and I'd be like, oh, can you do that? And so I always saw her doing marketing. I always saw her running her business, how she was doing things, how she was formulating new products or new services. So I saw that and I didn't know. And then now things come so naturally to me, but I don't realize that it's probably because I saw all this in my childhood.
You're already exposed to it.
Yeah.
So in those days, like how would your mom go about marketing?
Okay, so in those days in Pakistan, it was like so funny because only now, so she also used to do like videos for like ads on TV.
No way.
Yeah, in those times like you had like, so
that's a huge deal those days.
Yeah, exactly. But like those ads were basically kind of like socialized for like small towns, kind of. It wasn't really like.
But it would be on like on TV, like.
Yeah, it would be on TV, but like between like commercials and stuff.
Yes.
When there'd be commercials, the TV providers would like take off the ads from the actual source, and they would put their own ads.
Okay.
So those are the ads that my mom had. She was also on TV. She was really connected to media.
Okay.
At that time, so she was always like in media doing something. So she kind of became quite popular with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then just like billboards, her offers, like she would always have like some kind of packages and things like that.
Wow. Yeah, especially those days, getting on TV is, that's it. Like that's
because then you're famous.
Yeah, that's it.
Then everyone's like, oh my God, I want to go get my stuff done from her. Yeah.
What is it called? All right. And your dad, you mentioned to me he was an engineer?
Yeah, he is an engineer.
But he had his own business?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had his own business. It was his family-owned business. Mm-hmm. But I barely saw him. Like I think I was closer to my dad, but he would just go to work from morning till very late, and I wouldn't see him very much.
But when you see him at night, it's still...
Yeah, I would stay awake. I would stay awake till he like got home, and I'd be like, hey.
What would the conversation be like when he gets back home?
So actually, this is one of the prominent things I remember, is that I was in Islamic studies. And it was really hard for me. Arabic was really hard for me because you had to recite all of the surahs and you had to like remember them. One of the hardest things ever. And so I used to always excel at English and all of the other subjects, but that was so hard for me.
Is it because of interest, or is it because of...
I think it was also interest, because when you're young, they don't tell you the meaning behind things. They don't tell you anything. They just told you to remember it.
Yeah, and if the teacher is not good at what he does, you can not like the subject.
No, and they just told you to remember it. And it's like a different language, and I would just always fail. And I would always go there and they would like mark me 0 because they would be like, oh, recite this. And I'd be like, I don't even remember which one that is. And so I would ask my dad to help me because he was super religious and he was really good at this. And then when he would help me, then I would like actually get 10. And when I would see 10, I'd be like, oh my God, thank God. Yeah, so whenever I had a chance, like I would have his help.
I don't know if this is the right stage to ask you this question, but when do you feel the plant of wanting to achieve, high grades? When do you feel that was planted? I mean, like to a certain extent, I feel it's something that you either have it or you're not, like to be a winner. Yeah. But I feel with certain people, there's a particular moment where that like switch was triggered. Yeah. Or it could happen over accumulated
period of time.
Period where they've seen themselves winning. Yeah. And then that became their identity. So now even if they drift away for, whatever phase that went down, they'd be like, okay, this is not who I am. I need to, get my stuff together. So for you, I know it's a heavy loaded question, but for you,
when you say studies are never hard for me. Like, okay, Islamic studies were the hardest. But in studies, I was always like even in university, I was a top graduate. It didn't take me effort. Like, I mean, I don't know if it took me effort or not, but I think because my schooling in Pakistan was so hard growing up, that in America, it was so easy for me I'd never lost sleep. I was like, okay, and things just made sense. And I was doing what I liked, so it wasn't something very challenging. That's what I can remember. Okay.
And then when you moved to to Malaysia, was that your parents' idea, or obviously?
Yeah, that was definitely my parents' idea. Okay. Because Pakistan wasn't such a great place to live, so they were like, okay, we're gonna move, and it'll be a safer environment. And then I also got a lot of freedom as well, because then I was able to take. So you know what? Like, I know there's people who like hate taking trains and stuff, but when I first moved to Malaysia, that was like such a happy feeling, because we didn't have trains in Pakistan, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. We're in trains.
So this is in KL.
Yes, Kuala Lumpur.
Okay. So what was it like when you first moved there? I mean, like as a teenager alone, that's a big change.
Yeah. So you know what? It actually started something in my head that I've talked to with my therapist about. So basically when I got there, something that happened was suddenly I started realizing that I didn't have time. I don't know what happened, that like it kind of threw me into this mode of like always being really fast. Because somehow that triggered something, the move. Like that's what I've spoken to my therapist about, where she was like, something happened, and since then I've always felt like time's running and I'm like racing with it and I'm not steady.
I get it.
Like, it's so funny.
I feel that feeling. I think the first time I felt that feeling when I went to London, and I went there at a very
I think it happens when you move. Somehow.
No, I mean, I was just visiting, but still, it was a faster pace. Yeah. If you, let's say, go to Zanzibar, you will not get that feeling.
Yeah, but like in Malaysia, I felt like, okay, something's happened because I moved, and I was like, okay, now. And I remember the first time was like weird snacks in 7-Eleven. Like the first thing was like there was 7-Eleven downstairs our apartment, and I was like, oh my God, such weird snacks. And then everyone there used to look at me like all the time. And I used to be like, oh my God, why is everyone staring? But it's because my eyes were bigger than like the people there, some of the people there.
Okay. You look different.
Yeah, I looked different. So like
Okay.
I was very aware of the fact that like I looked different, but every time I would like go somewhere, people would be like, wow, that's your daughter. That's like so cool. And so I was like very separated
Okay.
from like this. Like I always felt like an outsider.
So what was your friend circle like?
Actually, my friend circle there was Arabs.
Okay.
So mostly I was friends with, because there were a lot of Arab expats at that time. I think now there is less because of COVID, but at that time there was a lot of Arabs. And so I used to hang out with them because I think I related to them quite a bit and I looked like them. So I just kind of got into that community, and they were amazing.
And you remember, were they like doing good in school? They were a bit of both. What were they like?
I think they were like,
Because I feel that stage is a critical stage. Like it can.
they were good in school. They were like all kind of like me. They loved going shopping on the weekends, just like girly girls, really.
Okay. All right. And then 17 is when you moved to the US?
Yes.
Okay.
That's like also, so when I moved to US, that's when I
state?
had,
What state, if you don't
California.
mind? Okay.
And that's where I had like the biggest existential crisis. It was because when I was in Malaysia, everything was like still within my beliefs. Like, you know, I grew up in a Muslim household and Malaysia was a Muslim country. I was around other Muslims when I was there as well. And I was just like, this is what I was told. And I was still with my family. So I was kind of like in this little box, you know? And then when I went to America, I was all by myself. My friends were all Americans. My roommates were all Americans. And they challenged a lot of my beliefs. They challenged a lot of the beliefs that I grew up thinking were accurate. So for example, like, I don't know how much I can say actually, but there were like a lot of beliefs that were challenged, to be honest. But mostly like maybe even drinking or like...
No, but how did they get challenged?
Because they were, to me, I was like, okay, so like why are all these restrictions happening in this religion when they have no restrictions? You know, they're just doing whatever they want to. So then I was like, okay, but like just because I was born in Pakistan, I'm restricted to do so many things. But just because I was born there and I was told to do that. And then if somebody was born in America, they just believe whatever they want to believe.
You felt like the restriction wasn't coming from your own set beliefs.
Exactly. These weren't my morals.
It was more coming like a community set.
Exactly. Like that didn't feel true to me.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of people who like really like, you know, doing certain things that are told by the Islamic culture, and they love it. It comes from within. They're like, oh, I'm so proud. Like one of my friends, she was like, oh, I'm so proud to wear a hijab. Like she loves it.
Yeah.
To me, that never felt right.
If you're not there, you're not there.
It never felt something that I wanted to do. It never felt it made a difference for me. Like for some people it does make a difference, but for me it didn't. And so then I kind of had to explore more of what I felt was true or what I felt was right for me.
Yeah, I think it's very important to take these decisions when you're out of based on knowledge, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so when that happens and then you become consistent with it, I've noticed it with my sister, I've noticed it with my niece who's like 9 months younger than me. She never wore hijab, and then I don't remember, was she 14 or 15 years old? But
she wanted to.
When she decided, she never took it off. She continued. She's a very sporty girl. She's always been into football and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should come from within.
Yeah.
And it should feel right to you.
Exactly.
Rather than like somebody telling you should be doing that.
Yeah.
Like you should do what feels true to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If it comes out of external
then it's not even
pressure.
real. Like
no,
I don't
it's
even
not.
think
And then as soon as you get an opportunity,
yeah, exactly.
You know, in the middle of the flight, you see people changing.
See, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to be fake. I just don't want to be fake. Like that's what I also realized. I was like, okay, I cannot live a double life. Like I'm just gonna be who I am, what feels good. Yeah. And that's it. Like I respect religion, and I would be like not doing something that's disrespectful. Yeah. But I want to do what feels good.
No, it's true. Like another example, I know a lot of people like they would wear the hijab, but then don't pray. And I had a group of friends,
like the parents, or they just do
or for the community. Yeah. And I had a set of friends that didn't wear it, but they were praying 5 times by the clock.
But
that shocked me. That I was like, oh, I never thought them that way. Like.
But it's not for everybody else, right? It's you and between you and God.
Absolutely. Really. And that really inspired me, like taught me you just cannot judge. You just cannot judge like by the cover. You have no idea. 100%. And number 2, like somebody could be even better than you in terms of practicing in certain areas more than they seem like.
Also, this kind of reminds me of another thing as well, just like moving a little bit away. Yeah. Is that like just what you saw is not what they were actually like, is like reminding me, because we started the podcast with the story in Paris where I didn't feel so good, but like everything looked so happy. Like if somebody saw me from outside, they'd be like, oh my God, this girl's living like the best life. You know, she's doing so many things, but I wasn't actually happy. So that's when I realized that it was more important to actually be happy than to just look happy, you know, like to just feel it from the inside than just to appear like that. And I think today as well, like there's a lot of more appearance. Like a lot of people appear to be like something, but they're actually not.
I mean, even with ourselves, you're right. I mean, like sometimes we could be at our happiest places, not from the outside, it might not look like everything is going great, but you're actually in a peaceful state. And like sometimes where everything is going great and inside you're feeling
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So tell me about uni. Okay.
Yeah.
So you get to is it LA or is it
no, it was Fresno. Okay. So it was near Yosemite. So it was in the middle of San Francisco and LA. So I would go there like every other weekend. Like I'd be in San Francisco. So some of my really good friends are in San Francisco. So I would go there quite a bit. University was a good time.
So you get to uni, you're exposed to all of this openness.
Everything. It was a lot. It was a lot of things that you're just like suddenly exposed to. Like it's not just one thing, it's a lot of things. And then you're like, you're just, it's really, I don't know how much you're able to say, but there's a lot of things that happen in university. And then I was quite overwhelmed. At first I was like, kind of like, okay, let's just go with it. And then I was just like everywhere. I was trying everything. I was doing like, it was a lot. And then suddenly I kind of came to this conclusion where I was like, okay, no, like I have to figure out what's actually good for me and what I would feel good doing. So then I spent a lot of time doing that. But university, mostly like studies were really easy for me, to be honest. I didn't have to like work really hard for it. But on the other side, like I really did get to find myself. I made a lot of good connections with a lot of friends. It was very like active and spontaneous. I think if I could say one word for university, it was very spontaneous. I say yes to everything because I had this thought, because I used to see people who like grew up in America or Europe or in countries that are like free, really, like they get to do everything. They get to experience so many things when they're like younger, right? They get exposed to so many things. So I was like, hey, I'm already kind of late. Like I already started just now. So I should just say yes to everything. So I was always on the go, always saying yes to everything. I was meeting, and in university you meet so many people like really fast. So I was like, yeah, you wanna go here? Yeah. You wanna go there? Yeah.
How did that work for you?
It worked really well because I had like a lot of experiences. A lot of experiences. A lot. Like I was like, they were like, oh, do you wanna go to San Diego tonight? And I was like, yeah. Do you wanna do this? And I'm like, sure. So I had a lot of experiences with a lot of different people. I think it also made me really good with people. And yeah, tons of
So you're saying You mentioned to me that like when like being in the state, it broke you out of your shell. You were 100%. A shy person.
I was so shy. By the way, I like imagine me being, my mom and everyone in my family actually is so surprised when they meet me, because I have like an uncle and aunt and cousin who live here in Dubai, and they've only seen me when I was a kid. So they always remind me, they're like, oh, you know, when you were a kid, you just would be like behind your mom, like hiding, like all the time, because I was so shy. Like even when I was in like Malaysia, like I wouldn't even order food for myself. I'd just be like, okay, mom, help. And then I'll just be like that. And then she was like, okay, now you're going to America. Like you're going to be by yourself. But I think this was like the best thing ever, because then I was on my own and I had to kind of figure it for myself. And one of my roommates, she was a softball player. And she kind of like took me under her wing, and she was like, okay, Nabeelah, you're beautiful, you're smart, you need to be confident. So whenever I would go to like a restaurant with her, she'd be like, Nabeelah, you need to speak louder. You need to speak louder. And I'd be like, okay. And everyone in America was so loud as well. So like one thing led to the other, and I was like, okay. Slowly I would like, then I started watching like YouTube videos or reading books, and they were like, oh, you should just start talking to strangers. So I would just go and talk to strangers, like randomly at Target. I would just be like, oh, that looks really nice. And like, you know, just kind of getting out of it.
Was that the reason why you picked public speaking as one of your curriculums?
So the thing is, if it were up to me, I wouldn't have. But in America, when you go through university, it's necessary.
So it's one of the electives that you had to pick?
Yeah, you couldn't get away. If I had a choice, I would not probably do it. But I had to. So then I was like, oh my God, that as well. So my first public speaking class, like we had to write a full speech, and I was really good at writing. Writing was good for me. I was like, okay, I can write, I can like structure things really well, so I can give you a really good start, a really good like justification of why this topic is like this way, and then make a really good ending. So I was good with that. And then when I started, so that was our first speech. So our first speech was happening in that class. Okay. And I was like, okay, now I'm really nervous. This is my first time ever. It was like my first semester as well. And it was so new for me to be around all like Americans. And I was like, oh my God, English is their first language. Like, you know, they're going to laugh at me. They're going to think that, oh my God, look at this foreigner who's like speaking. I was just really nervous to speak English in front of people whose first language was English. And then I spent the whole time until that speech just seeing like how to, just reading, which really helped me to this day, by the way. All that stuff helped me so much to this day to run my own business, because you really need to speak a lot and communicate and make content. And then I saw all of these YouTube videos of how Steve Jobs made his speeches really amazing, how he was charismatic. And then I got into like this charismatic, it's called Charisma on Demand, the channel. Then I got into that, like how are speakers doing this? How are they being confident? Their body language, this and that. And then I like just went through everything. And then when the first speech happened, everyone was like, oh my God, that was so amazing. And I was nominated as the best speech in the class. And that gave me a lot of confidence. Tons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I think once you've tasted it, you know, you keep wanting to come back to it.
Exactly. And then we had 3 speeches in that whole semester. We had 3 speeches that we had to give. And then the second and the third, I was just like so motivated, and I was so excited about it after, because I think also like my classmates really wanted me to succeed. Like they were, you know, I think they saw that I was quite nervous and I was from outside. So they were very, very nice and very supportive. Good for me. Yeah.
And your major was what?
My major is marketing.
Okay.
Well, it was business administration with a focus in marketing.
Do you remember why you decided on marketing?
Yes. I can tell you exactly, because I think this is like one of the moments that really sparked something in me. So basically, I was actually engineering major because I wanted to be like my dad. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do engineering. So I went to like engineering classes and everything, and I just didn't like it. And there was like a lot of boys, like there was just only boys and maybe like 2 or 3 girls. And I just felt like, okay, if I do this, that I'm going to like make it because I'm like smart enough to do it, but then I'm not going to be happy. Then what am I going to do? So then I was like, okay, in America, the good thing is that you don't have to pick your major until the first or second year, even though I went as an engineering student because that's what I did in my high school, pre-engineering. And then I decided that, okay, I'm going to take all these classes in the first 2 years. And I went to my first marketing class. And this marketing professor, he was super cool. So I think he made me love marketing so much. And he was talking about how when he would go to hotels, like all the elevator music, he would help them pick that. Like all these little elements would make your experience or like a perception of the customer. And I was like, that's so much more fun. Like, you know, kind of not manipulating, I would say, but like orchestrating this experience for a customer with just these little elements to make, it's like kind of like a magician. You're like kind of making a perspective for them. And I thought that was such a cool job that he got to like travel around, go to these hotels, go to these restaurants, tell them like, okay, you can do this for your marketing and this would do it really well, or you change this little bit. And I was like, oh my God, this sounds so fun. I want to do that. And then that's when I just went, the same day I went and I registered for marketing.
Nice.
Business administration with a major in marketing.
So, and during this period was...
Yeah.
But only after you... fast tracking.
Yeah.
You mentioned also you got into a women's community during uni?
Yes, actually. So like when I was graduating, so now I knew like I really liked marketing. I was really into marketing psychology. But when you get out of university, it's not like all these jobs are lined up for you. Like that's really scary part because you're just like, okay, like what am I going to do? So then I got a job at this company that was mostly sales. So they were like, okay, Nabeelah, you'd be a really good fit for a sales job. And I was like, okay. And then I really hated it. So every day I would wake up and I would like really hate it. So I was like, okay. So then I was like, I'm gonna go, maybe I need a creative class, or like I just need something to do that's creative, and something will come to my mind. Like I'll get an epiphany of some sort, like what's right to do now. So I went to this this creative class in like a co-working space, and that was actually owned by a woman who like had the women's community. And that co-working space was so beautiful. So I was like, oh my God, I would love to work here. Like this is a place that I could come to every day and I would be really happy coming to. So I went to the owner.
What was it about it that you liked?
What?
What was it that you liked about this space?
I just thought that it was like very inspiring. Like the place itself was beautiful. And I was like, maybe they need marketing. So I'll ask them. So I asked the owner, I was like, oh, I just graduated and I really like this place. Can I do your marketing? And then she said, we don't have the budget to like hire people, but like we can pay you something. But you know, there's like a lot of entrepreneurs that come to this co-working space. So you can get clients from there as well. And then you can make like extra from there. And that's how it all started, really. That's how it all like the marketing agency thing started.
Wow, that started pretty early.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And that's when I started learning more, because what they teach you in school, sure, like the psychology part like is very useful, wasn't as helpful when you come to the real world, because then I had to like learn all the Instagram stuff and all the content stuff, websites, SEOs, like all of these things, like they all came one by one. So then I was like, hey. So whatever they would tell me they were needing, like all the entrepreneurs there, I would just research into it. So I've been in the online space for a while, like a long time.
And for like right now, for the content creators,
yeah,
if they wanna, what advice would you give them? Like three main things they should focus on.
So I think definitely building your personal brand. I think that is so crucial. For as a content creator, you want to make sure that you have like a brand story or something that people can relate to you, something emotional, something deeper, because your personal brand gets you so many opportunities, especially in Dubai. Like I've noticed this a lot, that having content just opens so many doors. People want to collaborate with you, people want to meet you, people want to, you know, share something. Like it's been amazing. So that's one of the advice. Second would be to find a format that feels good to you. Like for example, for you it's podcasting. Right. For somebody else it might be writing. Even though I know podcasting has really taken over, but writing is still alive. So like there might be people who are just
writing. You mean like copywriting or what?
Writing as in like you could write articles, you could be a blogger. Like those still are working pretty well for like SEO and everything. So finding your own format, or if you just want to do YouTube, or finding a channel as well. I think like focusing on one channel rather than focusing on multiple channels. Like,
when you're saying channel, like a platform.
Like, yeah, platforms. That's what I meant. So yeah, so focusing on like maybe one or two when you're starting as well, that would really help.
I do agree with you, but why?
Because then you're not like focused on so many things. Because when you start, I know, like when you're super duper beginner, you want to do everything. You're like, okay, I'm going to start this, I'm going to start this and this. But then when you do one or two, you can actually do it well. You can actually engage with the audience in that platform. You can actually build communities within that platform because you're spending time in that. Everything takes time. So I think that's...
Rather than, let's say, focusing on, I'll do Spotify, TikTok, Snap, Insta,
that's YouTube. A lot. That's already a lot. That's already, I'm like overwhelmed. So you want to make sure that your audience is on that platform. For example, if you have like a super corporate kind of service, for example, you're offering it to corporations or big businesses, you want to make sure that you're on LinkedIn.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like focusing on the platforms that are actually going to benefit you.
That speak to your demographic.
Exactly. Yeah.
And third,
let me think of one more. Okay, so we've done that. Let me think. I think these are the two basic ones, to be honest. Just be yourself, really. Like I think I actually had a podcast before, which I will bring to life at some point again, but it did really well. Like it had like more than 300,000 downloads. It had so many people like commenting all the time. People are finding me through it on my Instagram, but it was just because I was being authentic. Like I wasn't being anything else that I wasn't. I was just like, this is my, like you can even tell when you speak to someone that they're being themselves. They're just, saying what it is. And kind of it comes from within. So
yeah, and yourself. I think also it's very important to be consistent.
That too. I had a lot of episodes, by the way, like tons, because I was like, when I first started, because I was obsessed with self-development, I was doing like 2-3 episodes every week, and I was just like, I always had ideas about stuff.
Yeah, no, having ideas is a very crucial part of it, but also having the time to do it, especially when you have a day job, it might be challenging. So I think it's always better to record them ahead of time.
100%, yeah.
That way you're, giving yourself
like right now, I could tell you that now I have so many clients that I'm always mostly doing client work. And I'm just like, oh my God, I need to start again with my own stuff. So like now I'm trying to structure everything, how I'm doing for my clients.
To find some time for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So going back to the soul searching. So that came after you started, the sales job. You wasn't happy. And what? Yeah. I know I had asked you earlier, but why did you decide on that particular book? Like, was it a video? Was it someone that recommended?
Somebody did recommend it. Okay. So again, like in that women's co-working space, there were a lot of coaches and a lot of they were a lot older than me. They were like in their 40s, 50s. Some people were in their 30s. But, and I was like 18, 19 at that time. And then, I was 20. So then they just gave me like a lot of advice. They just were like, oh, she's so young. And then I was working with all these people. So I was like researching for them. So for example, I was working for like life coaches and stuff. So I had to research like a lot of things for them. And so I was like finding all of these things. Yeah.
And what other book you feel had an impact on you?
The Untethered Soul. That was one of like a really good book. I think you can always go back to it. It brought me a lot of peace. I think it's a lot about like trusting the universe, even though like at times it's not as it doesn't come instantly to you, but it's something that I think it gives you a lot of peace. So that book like always makes me very peaceful because it's mostly the messages that you have to kind of let go and things kind of happen.
Give me an example.
So, for example, I think when you try really hard for things, like, I don't know, like, I think when you're doing something that comes from within, I feel like this whole episode could be just talking about like within.
Tell me.
But I think whenever you feel that this is the right move, you know? Like, I'm sure when you were starting this podcast, you were like, oh, I should start a podcast. Like, it came from within, it felt right, you did it, one thing led to another, you had so many guests, you know, kind of like that. Like, whenever you try things from when your mind's not clear, it doesn't really work out, but like, you can hear what.
So are you talking about like following your gut feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Like following your heart, following your gut feeling. And things do happen. I can't really explain it very much, but like a lot of...
I want to know how you connected with it.
So, I think I just have experienced so many random things, right? Like, I would want something and suddenly I would have it. Like, I would be like, oh, that would be so nice. And then one of my clients would be like, oh, you know, I have this. Or like, I would want something really, like, a lot, and it would somehow come into my life. Like, I don't know how all these things would happen. So I think that's something that's made my belief in this quite strong. So yeah.
I mean, that's pretty similar to The Secret.
Yeah, like manifesting, kind of.
Yeah, manifesting. I had I don't know how to coin this experience with The Secret, but I was halfway through and I had to drop the book because I liked it. You know, you think about
I've never read The Secret, by the way.
In short,
it's like manifesting, I think.
Yeah, you want something, you know, you think of something positive, you imagine it going in a positive way.
Yeah.
And you start attracting those things.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, yeah. And I'm getting all of these things because I am manifesting all of these things.
Yeah, but like, it depends though. You know, it's not as simple, by the way.
And then I started giving myself credit instead of thanking my creator, who created this whole...
That's a very good perspective.
Yeah. So, and who created this whole environment.
Yeah, and you think you're like, oh my God, I'm so...
And I'm like, I'm the one who's,
but, you know... what if like it's happening through you?
So, at a more mature level...
Yeah.
Both things exist. Negative scenarios exist.
100%. Yeah.
You know, and positive.
Like we spoke about.
The only difference is wherever you direct your focus, you'll notice.
Your perspective, yeah.
You'll know. If I tell you, like,
you know what? Like, okay, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. But how would you like say, you know, those serendipity moments? Serendipity?
No, I don't.
So those are the moments that are just like that you can't explain, but they happen. Like, for example, you were somewhere where, just recently, I can give you an example. So actually, so I have this friend who she's like in media here. And then she was like, she had dinner with me at one of the nights. And so I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna meet for dinner. So we were going out for dinner. And she was like, yeah, I had a client session today. And she actually found me through you. So like, that was so random, right? And that girl...
What do you mean you? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, like, it's just like, because I can't be so specific, right? It's like,
okay.
I have to kind of like move through it.
I got confused when you said you. I thought like me? Like,
no,
wait.
Me. So basically, that client had found my friend through my Instagram, because my friend was on my Instagram. So she found her, right? And she had no idea. And that girl had just told her that same day when she met me for dinner. And then so it's like so random, like all these random things that happen. Or when you're thinking about somebody, like you kind of run into it.
Yeah, so
it's like Dubai is huge.
Great.
Don't you feel like there's something else?
Yeah, so if I didn't believe there's a creator, I didn't believe that there's a creator that is running the world, consistently running it, not like one time thing and then let go.
But I 100% believe there's a higher power. I 100%, I would never disagree with that. Because like, if you don't have faith, you have nothing. Like, I'm not like sitting here saying that, oh, it's just all physics and like something happens and all of these things, because I really feel that there's something bigger than you. But when you ask for it, you usually get it.
Yeah,
You just have to like kind of believe.
And also what I was trying to get, expand on earlier is that regarding the focus, we all have opportunities, but
who gets it?
Who sees it as an opportunity to see it? As an opportunity is a whole different thing. We can both be in the same exact situation.
There could be somebody else who's in Dubai as well, but they're probably not.
Same exact situation. You'll see it as an opportunity. We can do 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And I'm there. I'm like, no, it won't work because 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but also,
same exact situation.
You know what? I think a lot of people underestimate the power of actually doing something because they think, oh, you get all these opportunities, but like I mostly reach out for them. I'll mostly like write people. I'll be like, hey, do you want to collaborate? Hey, do you want to do this? Hey, do you want to do that? So like I actually do a lot. Like if you think about it.
Why? When did that start for you?
I think that started, I don't know, because I think I had this mindset that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So like even when like there were people who, even for clients and stuff, like I'm just like, okay, this is this, like I'll make things happen.
But when did you learn that? That's a very crucial element in a mindset. Because
people think you're lucky.
Did you learn it from sales? Did you learn it from your parents? You saw them, the way they went about something? Was it in teenagehood?
I think with my mom, I definitely learned that like everything was kind of like you could figure out anything because I've never seen her stressed. I would have moments where I like break down or like, oh my God, this went wrong or this is what happened. And I would be like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Like I've never seen my mom do that. My mom always had like a plan, like on the fly. She'd be like, oh, this happened. She'll have something. She never had like a moment of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like this or anything.
How would you say her style of working is?
She's very aggressive. So like I think so there's like people, I've heard a lot of business advice and there's somebody that said you need to have 2 people in the business, one that cares a lot about the money and one that cares a lot about the clients. And so I was like, my mom's more like, she cares a lot about like the finances and she's like, no, this is how it is. But for me, I'm more like, oh, I want to do a good job. But obviously like now and to be honest, one of the things to kind of run my business well, I had to make a mindset shift because one of my friends sat down with me and then he was like, Nabeelah, you know what? You really identify as being a marketer, which is not helping you run your business that well. You have to run it as a business owner. And then I changed my perspective and I was like, okay, I'm running a business. It's like as a business owner, not as a marketer.
What was the challenges once you started to do that?
Nothing really.
Oh, what was the challenges that made you feel like, okay, I need to make a mindset shift?
Yeah, because like, I mean, at the end of the day, like I was getting clients and I was like making money, but then it was just like going, like I think it wasn't like I wasn't charging enough or I wasn't, I wasn't charging enough, to be honest. You're basically maybe just barely breaking even. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, this is so ridiculous for like working so much. Like this is not how it should be. So that's when I started looking at it as more like business than just like me being in marketing and doing a good job.
So how do you do that? For a person who went through or is going through a similar challenge, how can they make that mindset shift?
So basically I had to give up a lot of control. So before I used to do like most of the stuff where I used to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this and that, and then now I have a team who I delegate to. I'm like, okay, like they can do it. Like it's nothing, because I don't know why, but I had this mindset where I was like, okay, if I can do it, like I'm improving my skills and I'm showing my worth. Like my worth was attached to my skills. So I was like, okay, if I can do this, I can get better. And then my client would be like really happy. But then I had to be like, no, this is not how it should work. Like I need to have other content creators creating the content for my clients. Like I can't sit there and create content for everyone. So that was one of the biggest changes that I had to make.
Okay, yeah, especially once you've attached your identity to it.
Honestly, and then your worth as well, because I don't know why, but always I've had this like thing in my head that like my worth was measured by like my skills or my knowledge. Probably I was good at school, but like, this has always been something. So I had to like be like, okay, no, it doesn't matter. As long as I'm running the business well, like it doesn't matter if my skills are improving at the moment or not.
Yeah, and and feeling that you need to prove about your skills.
What do you want to prove, Nabeelah? There's nothing to prove.
Absolutely. All right, so you started working in the women's community. You were happy there. You started, making some clients out of. You started up your agency.
Yeah, and then it just got boring. So then I was like, okay, what's next? So then after like a couple of months, I was like, there has to be something else now.
And then that's when you decided to go to Spain.
Yes. So then I decided that maybe this was not like, this was great, but maybe this time is like over. Now it's time for a next chapter. So I went to Spain. I studied my master's there.
So that was how many years after you were working?
That was like 7-8 months. I moved really fast. I think it was like maybe like 7-8 months. So like properly like a year. I think properly a year. No, actually it was 6-7 months because I actually met a lady there who I worked with for a year after, actually.
Okay.
Still in America, who did e-commerce. And that's where I like learned so much about like e-commerce businesses. So she was doing like products, and I was just like amazed by the margins that you could make in like e-commerce businesses. Mm-hmm. So I learned so many things from her as well. She was really good. She took me to like conferences like around America.
And was that what got you interested in doing your master's? What did you do your master's in?
Marketing, fashion luxury marketing. So then I had like, okay, so then I did all this, and then I was like getting good at it. But then I was like, what's next? Like, what am I going to do after this? So that's why I decided that maybe I wanted to work in like a luxury brand. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll do that. So I went to Spain. I did my master's. I got a job in a hotel, like a luxury hotel in Barcelona. And it was the same thing. I didn't feel good. I got it. I got the job. They made 2 suits like tailored to me. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I'm going to walk around with a suit. That was like one of my things. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to walk around with a suit in the lobby and like feel so special. So I did. And then it just didn't feel good again. So I was like, what is this? So.
All right. So let's break down your experience in Spain. Yeah. What was it like? You first moved there. Walk me through your thought process.
So I think the first move to Spain was very exciting for me, the first few moments of it, because one of my other friends was also moving to Barcelona at the same time, so I had that. I was going to do my master's, so like I still had friends like who were going to the same master's program, so they would like make friends with you. So I had like good, and I really liked what I was studying, so I was happy studying that. It was always very interesting to me. So that was good. But then I think I was very ambitious for somebody there. I just wanted to like do something more. I always felt like there was more to do. I don't know where this feeling comes from, but like I always felt like there was so much more out there. And I think in Spain, the culture is more like chilled, yeah, very chill. Like all the people like went to go drink and just chill. And I wasn't like that. I was like, at that time, I was like, okay, I have to learn so many things. And I had just like properly, so I was providing services for clients in America. But then I started properly like becoming like making my own website and learning all these things. And I think you have to learn so much stuff. So at that time, I was buying courses and I was like learning so many things from like all the people who had done it. And there's a lot to learn when you first start your business. There's so much to learn. So like most of the time I was just like, oh my God, okay, so you need this in your website, you need that in your website.
What are the things you felt like when you first started you needed to learn?
So I think I definitely need to learn a lot about social media, like because I was doing social media as well at that time, but it was like changing so fast. So everything was changing so fast, and I was like, how do you do videos? And then I wanted to like get on videos. So like thankfully there's no first video of me because I deleted it, but there was a time when I was super new at it, and I made a video which got me clients, but it was so cringe. Like I didn't know how to talk. I was like so nervous.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You're like so nervous, and you're like, oh my God, like, oh, what was everyone gonna say? But I was also kind of like, I was also in this mode of like experimentation. So I was like, okay, whatever, like I'm just gonna do it. And then I would watch like a lot of motivational things as well. So I'd be like, okay, I'll just do it. And now it's like so natural, Yeah,
after 1,000 takes.
After a lot of time. Even now, like you're like, oh, okay, like but you have to prep yourself a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, but it comes mostly naturally, really. And so sometimes I go and give talks in Dubai. And a lot of the people that like are starting their Instagram for their business, they have like problems like coming on video. And they're always telling me, oh, you're so good at it. How are you so good at it? And I'm like, just because I did it. And then it was like really hard, but then I just like kept doing it because it was working. Because that really like set me apart. And that time, not a lot of people were doing videos either. So it really set me apart with my clients. So that worked really well. So those were one of the things I had to learn quite a bit. Video editing, understanding how, you know, you can make Instagram work for your business and stuff, and how I got clients from there. And then just learning about like business itself as well, like how should I package my services? Yeah, basically those things.
Okay. And then after Spain, you moved to France, or when was that?
No, actually France I went when I was in America for like a semester. I went to Paris and then I came back to America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's where, when you were in France, you mentioned to me that's, you were not in a happy place.
No, I was really not. I was so unhappy. I couldn't figure out why. Like, I just couldn't figure out why.
Now in
retrospect.
Yeah.
Like, even though like people would be like, oh, you know, you had to like find someone. I was actually with my ex at that time, and I was still super unhappy. So like,
do you think that was the reason, or?
No, I think it was the reason that I didn't know who I was.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with like anyone else, but I think I was just not happy with myself or who I was. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really know what made me happy. So I remember going through this phase where I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking pictures of like all this food and all these things to post on my Instagram, but do I really enjoy it? And like, I went through like questioning everything. I was like, do I really enjoy it, or am I just doing it for Instagram? And then like slowly I kind of had this thought where I was like, okay, I'm going to start with like a blank slate. I'm going to start like figuring out who I am. Okay, like I'm going to try things and I'm going to see what really, like, what do I like? Do I actually like this? Or did people tell me that I like this? So then like I started figuring out who I was, what actually made me feel good, and that, yeah. Yeah,
I think it's not an easy thing, probably one of the most challenging things to do, but once you achieve it, that's the only way you can have peace, is being aligned
with who you are.
With who you are and your values.
Yeah.
All right, so I have to ask you on a final note, what's your perspective on the high performance mindset?
So I think high performance doesn't mean that you're just super hard on yourself, because I've been there and I've been like, okay, you know what, all these, like, it's so easy to compare yourself to people that you see online and they're like achieving so much and they're doing so much. So I think being a high performer doesn't mean you should be so hard on yourself or make yourself kind of like torture yourself basically, or compare yourself or feel like you're not good enough. So I think being a high performer to me would be, you're doing what you feel good doing and you're following your path.
Perfect. Wouldn't have said it any differently.
That's great.
Thank you for today, Nabeelah.
Thank you so much for having me.
There's a lot of things you mentioned that can spark a lot of thoughts in our audience. I'm sure. I hope they enjoyed as much as I did. Thanks.
Thank you.
It was great.